record. Hello, my name is Krome, and this is Prospect Magazine TV, the international biker podcast that talk about good things and good folks, and we only wanted to inform and inspire. Today's guest is amazing. You know, it's funny because I always research a lot of motorcycle clubs, and this one here is on a whole nother level. Just been around since 2006. This is the First Nations REDRUM MC, and it's not like the movie from The Shining. Trust me, it's not. These brothers are so organized and so beautiful. It's a First Nations motorcycle club. And I'm so proud that they would even take time to spend time with me and chat a little bit and chop it up about the MC world that we're all in. There, you know, it ranges from the leader of this group and the founder, his name is Chris Mateus. And let me tell you something of this man. He has done amazing things within First Nations, this First Nations motorcycle club. And like I say, 2006, they got about 20 chapters, I'm not sure, around America and even in Canada and Peterborough, which I ran into those guys, great guys I met at a bike show once. And I had to interview him. And like I say, I'm very privileged and humbled that he would take time for me. Coming from Brooklyn, New York, here's my man, Chris, and he's gonna explain a little bit more about what his club is all about and what their mission statement is. Hey, Chris, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. How's it going?
Good, man. Hey, man, I want to thank you again and for coming on this podcast and talk about what you guys are doing, because you guys are doing amazing things. And like I said, I read your website and I was like amused from it. And a lot of clubs can learn a lot of things from you guys. So tell me something. Brooklyn, a native New Yorker, and starting a motorcycle club. How did you get involved in this, and why did you want to start something like this?
Well, you know, I come from a family of my dad was the leader of a gang called the Zorros back in the 50s in New York City, when sort of like West Side Story, when Puerto Ricans had just come to New York, and there was a group of a neighborhood, a bunch of blocks that all the Puerto Ricans lived in, you know, and it was like West Side Story, you know. They couldn't correct, you know, if you cross 57th Street, it was the Irish, and if you cross 72nd Street, it was the Italians. So, you know, my dad, I sort of grew up in that life, you know, even though my dad, you know, became opened his own business and became, you know, got himself out of the hood. But so, you know, I sort of grew up with that. My brother was in motorcycle clubs, and so, you know, I've been in the club life for a long time. I'm an ex-one percenter from back in the 80s, and I'm an old G, you know, I'll be 60 in a couple of years, you know, so I've been around this for a minute. And you know, the Red Rum, it was Red Rum Crew before, and basically, you know, we were, I wouldn't say, you know, sort of more in the outlaw MC world than we were, you know, absolutely not what we were now. And I had a vision, you know, I mean, I've always been, you know, involved in my indigenous ancestry and, you know, my life, you know, through my mom's side, and also my dad, you know, being Puerto Rican and also connected to his Taino roots, you know. And so I know always been in my indigenous, involved in my indigenous ancestry, as well as, you know, my Latinx ancestry too. And like a vision came to me, man. It just came to me about creating the idea of the club, and you know, I always looked, you know, as a one percenter, and no knocking the lifestyle, because I had great fun, you know, in the 1% world. But you know, I always thought about like. Could I take most of these guys home to meet my mom? Most of my brother, and I'd be like, my mom wouldn't approve, man. You know, God rest her soul. But you know, when I was in that, so I always thought about, like, there was always these strong guys in the motorcycle world. I always thought, man, like, how do you get this dude? Like, this guy is a really successful businessman, and this guy, you know, I remember when we have a member that bounced in one of the clubs here in New York, in a biker bar, you know, and every single club used to ask this dude, you know, he was like an outstanding guy in the community, like a big dude, handled his business, and he just had no interest in being in the MC world. And I always thought, man, like, how could I get this guy who every single club has asked and respect, like, what would attract him to a MC? And so, I had this vision, and I woke up and I drew the new patch, and at that time we had 2 chapters of REDRUM, and one chapter just quit. Like the whole club quit. They were like, "We ain't down with this, man. What are you talking about? Peace and love and the mission of brothers coming together and all this." They were like, "Man, like later for that," and they left. And they went on to, join other 1% and MCs. And it was like starting from scratch, So that was really, what the mission was. It was always about, it came about how do you care for your community? How can you be, what is a warrior? What is a true warrior? Like, when you even, break down what a samurai is or what a ninja is, when you go into those perspectives, man, it has very little to do with being what we consider today gangster, about being, like it has very little to do with that. It has to do with serving your community, about caring for the people, we often go to many sacred sites and a lot of like Standing Rock, and we just came from Oak Flats and we were up in Mauna Kea, and these are places where indigenous people are standing up for the land. These are encampments where the people, and the first thing we do when we get there is like, how do we take care of, people expect us to get there, and standing like, all right, we're here, man, we're cleaning up trash, we're feeding the people, making sure that everyone's taken care of, because really, that's what a warrior does first. That's the first thing a warrior does.
Well, one thing is, too, you hit so many great points about this whole motorcycle MC world, because a lot of these guys get in this thing for the whole tough element. Now, what confuses me is they're 40 years old and all of a sudden they want to be tough. That they want to put a patch on. That's the weirdest shit. You've never been in a fist fight in your life, but now you're 40 years old, when your back is hurting, now you're a tough guy. Like, what the hell is that?
I see it all the time. And, as growing up in the streets of Brooklyn, man, listen, I've been, I always have my motto. I've been chopped with a sword. I've been stabbed twice. I've been shot. I've been bashed with baseball bats, and this is all in my teens. This was all before I was 20, what I'm saying? So,
like most of us.
This is before I was 20. So I'm like, you know what, man? Like, that's the least attractive thing to me, like the least attractive thing. So, it's true. I see these guys in their 40s and 50s and they missed it. I'm like, bro, they missed the boat, but they ain't got the body for it, man. And now they got house payments, they got children, and they don't realize that you get jammed up in this, and all that goes away real quick.
What I was impressed with all of you guys, that when I spoke to some of my friends, like I know a lot of bikers across Canada, and from the 1% world, we only have the 1% world here. That's all we have. We don't have any 99s, and like, we're the only club here. My club is like yours. We here, they join my club. I'm about no fuckery at all. And it's like, just like you. I have one of the guys who's one of my lawyers, and he rode a bike. I was thinking, how can I get this guy in my club? The same thing with you. I wanted normal guys, work every day with families in my club. Let's ride some motorcycles, have some barbecue, have some fun, and leave all that other fuckery to the guys who love that shit.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we do. And when I was reading your website and you didn't say you were 1% in affiliations, I thought that was amazing how you can go that far, and especially being the East Coast. You guys have a lot of bullies there who play this whole motorcycle thing to the T. And I was wondering, so how do you get more than California and the West Coast? And West Coast, California is like this. It's kind of like they love MCs and having fun. It's all about riding motorcycles. The weather's great. Out in the East and the Midwest, it's a little bit, the clubs there are really kind of about bullying, and want to know why. I was just wondering, to be that large, how did you get past all the things that comes along with that?
Yeah, man, listen, like I said, I know a lot. I know a lot of these cats because I've been in the game a long time, and I've sat down in meetings and the funny thing was, when we went to Standing Rock, I got a message from, quite possibly, there's always debate who's the baddest motorcycle club, in the state, in, let's say, United States.
Right.
Who's the baddest? But I would say that they probably are the baddest, and just from history of what they've done. And I got a message when we were at Standing Rock from their international president. who was like, yo, I like what you guys are doing, man. Like he saw us at Standing Rock and he was like, yo, that's good shit.
Good,
Brief,
good, good,
brief
good.
message, real quick, just like good shit.
But, but
That's
you
what he
know,
said, and we really put ourselves out on the line when we went there. I mean, I was, I got a picture of the chalkboard, that the Bureau of Indian Affairs and they had the leaders of the camps, their arrest board, who they were the leaders of all the different camps, even though it was a peaceful movement. And my name was right up there, as the leader of REDRUM with the other leaders of the different, indigenous camps that were going on there. So, we were all targets, so going out there really put a big target on us. And I know that they were wondering like what we were going to do when we went there, whether we were going to incite, this peaceful camp. And, the first thing we did was we fed people and cleaned up,
right. It's funny because I was reading it. So you have to explain something, the 13.5%. I kind of wrote that,
There's no
and I thought that
percent.
was brilliant.
There's no percent.
Okay, 13 and a half.
Yeah, so I brought 13 and a half to the MC world. We officially share it with one other club. Another club kind of jacked it, whatever. But we officially share it with a race bike club that was also part of the growth of REDRUM, which is Legion of Doom. And that's our brother. There are our bros are race bike bros.
Right.
When I brought that idea, when I first introduced it to the MC world, it had never been used before. For me, and people talk about that, 13 and a half. It's the perspective mainly of Black, brown, and poor white folk here in America.
Right.
Because, when we get arrested, it's a wrap, man. Unless you got money for a lawyer, it's one judge, 12 jurors, half a chance. It's half a chance, that's it.
Right.
And that's real talk.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's real talk. So, it's a conscious thing when we wear it. It's a conscious thing to remind us that, as and it's no knock on like I said, on the 1% world, on the outlaw perspective of this MC stuff. God bless him, man. Like I said, I was in that world. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in that world. Not the other stuff, but just the fun, the brothers, the whole thing moving around. But for me, it just wasn't where I wanted to be. But this perspective is sort of like, yo, man, before you make that move, before you do something, think about that. One judge, 12 jurors, half a chance. Because if you're Black, brown, poor folk in the Americas, this ain't cut out for you, man.
Yeah, yeah.
These odds are not in your favor.
Yeah.
And
Chris, you keep it real, man, because I think there's a lot of clubs in the U.S. need to be wearing that patch for any patch, because really, it's you just being real. I've always thought of that, but I didn't put a patch behind it. I've talked to so many young guys about clubs, and brother, I come from that world you come from too. And then when I started the Gypsies, is, you know what? I'm older. I'm gonna have some grandkids. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm gonna have some grandkids. Since I ain't got no time for fuckery, but I wanted to start something in Canada that brothers can identify with, that can be right together. We're all working guys. We know, and it's funny about people starting a club, and the first thing they do, you go see a dominant, right? Well, the first thing I did, I want to talk to the feds, because they're the dominant. I don't care what nobody says. The feds are the dominant. Then I went and talked to the dominant. I talked to the feds first and said, look, had talked to the RMCP, and I said, look, this is what we're doing. We're a bunch of guys. If you need to run us all now, here's everybody's passport. Let's get this out of the way, because when you pulling us over, we're wearing our passports, we got shit to do. We got to go to work, and we can't be late. So let's get this out of the way right now. Then we talked to the dominant and told them we were here. And I preach that a lot to these young men who rap bikes and wear patches. Says, look, don't fucking get in trouble, man. Don't put your name in the system. Yeah. We're all Black bikers, and I'm telling you something, we're outlaws by default. because we're people of color.
Right.
You don't even got to have a patch on for law enforcement to hassle you. So
Yeah.
I preach what you preach every day, man. I'm a little bit older than you, and I've been through it, and I've done the 1% world, rode with those guys, hung out with them. I'm from Chicago originally, and I've been in Canada about 40 years, but I always kept my family in Chicago and in Las Vegas, and I was always around the MC world, the outlaw world, because they kind of made sense to me because of their structure. To me, they have better structure than everything else. But then some outlaw clubs like to do outlaw shit, you know, and that's fine too. But the thing is, I took that foundation, brought it in my club, because let me tell you something. You guys look like an outlaw club, you roll like a. That's not what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know,
The structure is like that. But
yeah, we got a good percent. You know, there's a good percentage of guys in our club who are all ex outlaw bikers, you know, and who have, you know, sometimes, you know, in this MC world, you know, sometimes you gotta put the reins on some of them dudes, because right away, you know, they forget where they're at. And it's like, oh, hold on a second, man. You're gonna handle this in another way.
exactly.
You know? You know, when you're with, you know, when you got, you know, 500 some odd heads that you gotta keep under wraps, you know, all over the world. So it's, you know, it's kind of, but you know, it works. You know, it works. I mean, the funny thing was we had our national run in Sturgis. Like, I always say, you know, listen, last year you got to take 2020 off the calendar. So whenever someone says last year, it really means 2019. There's no such thing as last year.
We didn't have it last year.
In 2018, we had our national run in Sturgis, you know.
Right.
So we're at a gas station. A whole bunch of our guys, because we got a bunch of chapters of deaf dudes, all deaf.
Right.
Deaf guys, and we got a chapters of deaf. One of our deaf chapters got pulled over, which was funny shit. So they all got pulled over, like ATF and the cops pulled them all over. They don't know who. So they let, you know, they showed that everything was cool, you know, let them go. So I pull into a gas station because I had gotten the call. And so I go to the gas station near where they were, and they come rolling in, and you know, I want to find out what happened, blah, blah, blah. And so does the ATF. They roll in, they get out of the car, and so their head guy, ATF, Sturgis, ask somebody, whatever, and they're like, well, you know, who's the leader? You know, and they're like, well, I don't know who the leader is, but you could talk to this dude, he might be able to help you. So he comes up and he goes, let me ask you a question. Who the fuck are you guys? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, listen, man, you guys rolled into town, you know, a few hundred of you, and we're wondering who the fuck you are. Like, you guys have been like, the way you conduct yourselves, how chill you guys are. Like, we had a video of you guys doing a prayer in the, like, with smudging in a parking lot. Like, we've been watching you guys, and who the fuck are you, man? So, you know, I told, you know, I said, we Googled you, but, you know, we never believe anything we see online. So, or read, you know, about, every club says they're the same shit. And he was just like, who are you, dude? So, you know, I broke it down to him, and he was like, yo, this is very cool.
It is
very cool, man. And I'm you know, we're very impressed, and we're glad to see, you know, that you guys are, you know, just doing your thing, you know, and conducting yourselves in a good way. So,
because I think that a lot of guys do want to join an MC, but they don't want to be connected with any crazy stuff like, you know, robbing banks or whatever you think it is. And you are a new prototype. You actually, in 2006, you've been around 15 years. You're a prototype of a lot of guys who want to join. And with my club also, it's like, you know, it was so funny how I found out about you. Is this one of my clients, and let me tell you what I do. I'm in the business, I have clients, and they're very conservative. He said, have you heard of REDRUM? And I go, yeah, I kind of read it. It's a 1%. He says, no, this is about 3 months ago. Right. I was like, really? And I did research, and I read, and I know what 1% will look like and act like. I can go through all the pictures. It'll be one dude in that something that will show me, you guys ain't it. You guys, there's a bunch of, what you did was beautiful. A motorcycle MC club, First Nations, all these things. It's just beautiful what you guys done. And then and you have an amazing organization. I can't see it nowhere and growing. And you are a prototype for no motorcycle clubs and saying, this is what we do. We're about having fun. I see you started a female charter of women.
Yeah, because we
Right?
got calls, women were like, oh, you're all about like we have a t-shirt that says tolerance,
Yeah.
and it has all the different religions in it. It says REDRUM tolerance, So these women were emailing going, tolerance, book tolerance my ass. You don't even let women in your club. And I was like, she's right. So then we started a sister club called Red Spirit.
Right.
It was a single patch kind of thing, just to get our sisters to ride with us, but the mother of our club, like our spiritual mothers of the club, are two elders, Auntie Pua, who is world renowned. She's the Kumu, which is like the leader, the elder of the Mauna Kea movement in Hawaii.
Right.
And then Auntie LaDonna, who is one of the people that started the whole Standing Rock thing. And so even though we are a men's club, we're led spiritually by women, by elders, who make us accountable. So I always got to remind guys, like when something, I'm like, yo, bro, like one of the dudes made his wife is a model, and he had this picture with his patches, and his wife super hot pictures with thongs on, and she's posing with him, and he's like, yo, can I post these pictures? And I'm like, well, what do you think Auntie Poole would think about the image of the club in that way? He's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he thought about it, right?
It's like we don't have to portray that image, man. God bless your hot wife, bro. But
he would put that on his own social media, not maybe yours.
Huh? Yeah, personally on his own. But we have seven chapters in Canada right now, and
actually, I ran into those guys, and they're like beautiful. They were like the nicest, cool guys, and I didn't know what you guys were about because selfish. Like I said, I have law enforcement in my club, and I have finance guys in my club, and I really can't shake hands, drink beer with dudes who doing that other stuff. So Canada is very small. We're the only black club here, and everybody's watching us. So when I met you guys, and I said, I remember in Peterborough, Ontario.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I ran into some guys. I said, hey, you guys come by and check us out. Come on, baby, we're having a picnic. And I had to think about it. And I got in the car and I go, I don't know, because I didn't know anything about you. Now that I know you, with them, I'm going to invite them out to my office and have a barbecue. Now that I met you, then I really know what it's all about. We all have to be very careful. Now, two is, I'm going to go to this. You're the director of the Red Heart Native American. So what is that, if you mind me asking?
There's a Native Arts Council here in New York, which, we present culture. So a lot of our members, a lot of the members in the club are Native American artists, performers, dancers. One of the most famous Native artists in the world, his name is Dallin Maybe. He's actually Santa Fe Indian Market. He was one of the heads of that for like 10 years. Dallin is a member, famous Native artist. We have Native actors. A guy named Sam Bearpaw, who's a pretty well-known Native actor. He always plays Geronimo or like Cochise in those History Channel. Like he played Geronimo versus, I don't know, in that versus show where they like what would happen in history if the two dudes would fight. He played him, so he's like a pretty well-known Native actor. And then we got the biggest indigenous actor in the world who's a member of the club. We don't really put it out that much, and we'll probably do it in the right time. But Jason Momoa is a patch holder.
Right. He's in Toronto all the time making movies.
Yeah, he's in Toronto right now. He's been filming that show, and he put his patches on a full black bear.
Right. Wow.
A black bear vest, like a full hair out black bear vest, and then he has his cut in that. I always goof on him. I spoke to him yesterday. I'm like, bro, you're a maniac, man. But he just keeps it super real, and but he's an active, he's a member of the club, but he's involved, like he's done, we put him on duties, man, like nobody wears a cut in our club, and it's just for the sake of
Yeah, because you don't care who they are. They just like anybody else.
Listen, some of the members of the, we have old school guys who've been in the club a long time and first of all, don't even know who some of these dudes are, and nor do they give a shit. They're like, I don't care. Like,
But
they don't even watch TV, So, so
like
whenever someone
you started
gets
a whole social movement, not just Native community. The reason why I wanted to put you on that podcast because we have a big urban, we have a huge urban audience, and I was so impressed with the thing is I try to get all my audience to look past color barriers or race or religion or I'm interviewing the Jewish guys, my Jewish guys next week. The Yids on Wheels. They're good friends of mine. I've known for a million years. And even though I'm a person of color in this podcast, it's an inclusion. I want everybody to learn more. That's why I call it Prospect Magazine, because I feel that we all prospects in life. I've been in the biker set for 40 years. All. I still don't feel like I know everything, and I'm no prophet. But the thing is, this is a learning tool, this podcast for everybody. I want them to know about you, research. Because the thing is, the way you've done things, the way you branded this whole thing is so spectacular. Everybody can learn something from you.
Sure. I mean, we wish that people, would understand, especially in this MC world, there's certain places that starting a charter, even with our thing, even with our history about who we are, there are places that we're still like up in the air dealing with dominant starting charters, and, just, and my philosophy is always, we're building a community, when you come into a place, so, I wish I could say there's one clear way to conduct this or do this, but there really isn't, man. There's no
blueprint for it.
There's no code book, man.
There's no blueprint. It's kind of trial and error. But you do a little of your homework first before you even start it. Do a lot of your homework, and then what it is try to build good relationships with people. That way you don't have any problems with them, because problems is usually misunderstandings.
Yeah, man. Listen, I've sat in front of lots of the dominants and been in, waiting for a phone call to go into a clubhouse at 3 a.m. and some hairy situations, doing this, like super, super hairy situations. You never know how it's gonna, turn out, because what we wear, these MCs and clubs like yours and mine there are other dudes that this is I mean, it's always life threatening. You put that MC word on you, but there are guys that they have members of their ex-members of their clubs, of their chapter 13s, of dozens, sometimes up to 100 guys who gave their life in the history of their clubs for this thing, that have died for this thing. So, as much as you want to come in and I'm not saying you in general, but, us with this mindset and these Christian clubs and law enforcement clubs, and they all want to come in and sort of be like, hey, but you got to understand, you're going to sit and talk to some dudes that have lost 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 brothers in wars for this MC thing, and that's real talk. So, as much as you want to, and I want to sit there and sit in front of these guys and go, hey man, well, we're about peace and love, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you tell that to our brothers who ain't here no more because of this. So don't try and downplay any of this thing, and when you get approached like that, really, what can you say? Because it's real shit.
Right.
We talk about, our perspective on this and what we want to bring to this, but we can by no means disrespect or dishonor the hundreds, thousands of brothers who've died in this thing, since the 40s when guys were first doing this, and the times when, 5 guys with a patch would roll into town and they'd call the National Guard or something, they couldn't even sit in a diner because the cops would roll in like SWAT because 5 bikers rolled in. What we take for granted here, like we just started a chapter in Australia, man. That's a whole other.
Oh yeah. You got carpetbaggers up there. You got You got clubs up there, man. Them dudes, man, they're on a whole nother. First of all, Europe and Australia, MC World's a whole different ball game up there, and they ain't used to guys like you and me coming up there talking about we opening up something.
No, I mean in New Zealand and Australia, there are Aboriginal clubs, you know, but them dudes they're no joke, and they recognize what you're doing. But the fact of the matter is, you know, Australia and New Zealand are the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
they're America 30 years ago.
right.
You know, these guys, you know, you could still read about it and hear stories about cats groups of guys rolling into towns and taking over the whole town like it's 1940.
Well, one of the guys in my club is dating a woman she's native from New Zealand, and man, she's tough. Like she's beautiful as hell, but she's fucking tough, dude. Yeah. And I'm like, how the hell you get like that? She goes, I'm from New Zealand. You don't understand motorcycle club culture there. It's totally different over there. It's different.
Oh yeah, I mean our chapter in Australia. Yeah, I mean our guys in Australia, they you know, to be a member of the club, they have like a 3-day-a-week mandatory workout. They have to train like 3 days a week. These dudes, like they're like, this is no joke here, man. You know, we have to be healthy and fit. And I'm like, oh, look. I'm like, well, but yeah, you know, it's you know, Australia and you know, down under, as they say, man, it's a completely different.
So what was your secret? What was your secret for your growth? Like, what did you do? I know a lot of outlaw clubs, they target the military because a lot of veterans in America, they join a lot of outlaw clubs because they're still looking for their camaraderie and all that. So what was yours? Did you target a veteran?
We really don't target anybody, man. We just,
so
this is what we're about.
Bottom line, you just Native Americans doing something different and joining something positive.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people are attracted to, you know, the indigenous point. Look, if you're in the Americas,
right.
In the Americas, from the tip of Alaska to Argentina, you know, if you're in the Americas, right, you're on indigenous land. End of story, right? And a lot of what, for instance, in America and Canada too, what a lot of people assume are American traditions or Canadian traditions are really Aboriginal traditions, man, that you know, we look at as from words that we use. So like how much more American can you get than being part of a Native club? Like even Harley Davidson's always putting you know, eagles with feathers, and I mean I know they've cut back a lot now because you know there's this whole cultural appropriation talk. Who knows what Indian Motorcycle actually contacted me and sat down with me to talk with me about the perspective of Indian, the use of Indian as their mascot for their motorcycles and how we felt and what. So I had this whole thing this summer with Indian Motorcycle. It was pretty funny.
They write you a check?
No, I told them I want a challenge. I told them I want a challenger, man. So we'll see what happens. But even they're like talking about this is part of a conversation. So, you know, there really wasn't any, it's just what we do, what we're about. And a lot of guys are, you know, sort of interested. It was like that first phone call I got from Jason Momoa, you know, like I was on the phone with him for an hour. He asked me 50,000 questions, you know, like, what's the club about? What do you do with this, that? I mean, the guy's a biker, man. He knows he's in a similar situation where, you know, tons of clubs have asked him, and he's been riding motorcycles his whole life.
He's got a bunch of beautiful vintage bikes.
Yeah, and he rides them things, man. He actually has his bikes in Toronto. You guys don't even know, but he's been buzzing around Toronto with a full face on.
You know, the thing is, it's funny. We have a part of Toronto called Kensington Market, and it's this bar my buddy's own. It's called Ronnie's, and it's in Kensington Market. And he's always there, and you know, Toronto, like we have a lot of movie stars here, so nobody really bothers anybody. It's just like that here.
New York is the same way. LA, they bother them all the time.
Yeah.
New York, nobody gives a shit. Whatever, dude. Like,
so I'm gonna ask you a question, Chris. What legacy did you think you want to leave? Because I'm gonna tell you something. You know, all the great guys from the 40s, 50s, 60s. You know, your name's gonna be on their list, right? 20, 30 years when they're gonna be talking about your ass in a good way. that you led what you've done, because you've done something that's beautiful, it's different. I can tell you're a Renaissance man like me. I like doing shit differently, right? And I can
Yeah.
tell that. So one day, you know, everybody's gonna be talking about you. There'll be flexible. Little kids are talking about, oh, but you know, Chris Mateus, and he started when he started. How do you want to leave a legacy?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't even have a moment to, because with leadership comes service. So, I never look at myself as like, I'm a leader, I'm running this shit, I created this shit. It's always for me like service, which is constant. How can I serve you? So members of my club, I don't look at them like, that I'm in charge. I look at it more as like, how can I serve you?
Right.
Because a
Right.
true leader is just a servant of his members,
Right.
and so I don't really think about I hope I can't fathom the idea of cats mentioning my name in 20 or 30
What
years,
you've done,
but
they will.
yeah, it's like that scene. I always think of that scene, which motivates me in life to do things. Because there's a scene in Troy
Right.
where Brad Pitt is getting ready, and this little boy comes up and says, "The man you're gonna fight is a giant," and he goes, "I would never want to fight him." And then Brad Pitt, turns to the boy and goes, "That's why no one will ever say your name. No one
Right.
will ever say your name. When you're dead, no one will say your name." So when we're not afraid to venture out and do our thing, like you're over there, starting your club, doing this podcast, reaching out, extending yourself in this way of service. I just think we can't be motivated by anything other than serving,
Right.
and that's it, and what comes later on, if I'll be dead, so I won't hear about it anyway. So
But I know if you have kids, your kids will be talking about it, your grandkids will be talking.
yeah, my kid, my youngest was prospecting for a minute, and he was like, "Man, I ain't trying to hang out with some old dudes, bro." But
He said, my kids don't even like motorcycles. I grew up with motorcycles. My brothers, my dad, all of us, my sons don't like motorcycles. I don't know what that's all about.
that's the new, listen, that is that's Harley Davidson's dilemma right now, right? Nobody's buying motorcycles. Nobody, the women are the ones jumping on bikes. The
Yes.
new market is women. So that's it.
That's a whole new social network too for them, because they can, meet somebody and go ride with and meet a friend, and that's about it. But hey, Chris, I'm gonna let you go. I know it's a Saturday and you got your family, and I thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. Keep up the good work.
It's
I
important
look
us.
forward. Yeah, I look forward to coming to Canada and riding with your brothers.
Well, you better come up and visit us, man. And you come to Peterborough, come by our clubhouse. We don't have a per se clubhouse like with stripper poles and shit. We got like classrooms. It's really funny because people come and go, you got like classrooms in here. Yeah, I have classrooms. We have pool tables. We have things where people bring their kids.
Good,
we have a program that we're working on, a single moms dropping off their young boys that's 13, 14 years old. And we try to scare them straight, tell them a better life. They look in the garage and see all these really expensive motorcycles, and they say, "How'd you get that?" We teach them hard work.
Good.
Love your mom, take care of your mom, take care of your little sister. They don't have fathers at home. Nobody tells them that, so we try to do that. So definitely,
that's good work, man. That's really good to hear, man. I hate clubhouses.
I don't have a clubhouse. Like, people text me, "Hey, man, you got a clubhouse?" I go, "Not like you think."
Well, our guys in Peterborough don't have one either. They, we ride motorcycle. You can't get in any trouble when you're riding your bike, man.
Exactly.
It's when you're hanging around when everything pops off, when you're riding your bike and doing what we're supposed to do, and working hard and creating venues for kids to come, and like what you're doing, there's no trouble in that,
Yeah, all that in clubhouses a million times. My good friend Toby Jean from Dragons, he told me, he says, "Do not open a clubhouse." I said, "Well, I have an office, and we have a home we purchased, and it's our office, and we have classrooms in it." He said, "Because clubhouses are one of the biggest mistakes a lot of clubs have, because nothing but bullshit going on when you're not around." And I thought about that, and I said, I think he's right. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna let you go, brother.
All right, my brother.
Nice
Much love, man.
And we'll talk to you again, okay?
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you, bro.
Ciao. Have a good day.
All right, peace.
Hi, this is Krome, and this is Prospect Magazine TV. I enjoy talking to that brother, man, because you know what? I learn something every day. And this is the reason why we call it Prospect Magazine, because we're all prospects of life. He has an amazing club upstairs, and he's a guy from Brooklyn, New York. And his native whole MC thing, REDRUM, it's a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of people can take, check out their website, REDRUM MC, and you'll be impressed by the way these brothers do things. And they're growing. They've been around since 2006. They're steady growing. And now I'm a fan of theirs. So I just want to say, hey, good night and good evening. And this is Krome from Prospect Magazine TV. And look forward to our next show we're going to have. We're doing a tribute, a Black tribute month to Harley Davidson Motorcycle Club and Harley Davidson Motorcycle Company. And we have two members that ride with me. One of my members in my club is a mechanic there. He'll give you some insight on it. And that's about it. Hey, so take care. Happy Saturday, and talk to you again. Ciao.